to change your life in 6 months. In this video, I'm going to go through my journey of how I changed my life in 6 months and the steps that I took to do that. But before we go into the steps, I kind of just want to explain the headspace and the circumstances that led me to make the decision to change my life. So let's go back to June 2022, when I was living in a garage in a van with no engine. And for the first time in a very, very long time, I didn't have a choice. And that made me feel trapped. See, I didn't have a choice because I didn't have a backup. In an ideal world, I would have been able to leave that van and go, I don't know, travelling for a month or two while the van was being fixed. But I didn't have that choice. The only choice I had was to live in the van. Now, that got me thinking. That got me thinking about my life, my current situation, and where I was at. And it led me to make the decision to change my life, because I didn't want to be stuck in that situation. And I never want to be stuck in that situation again. And the way I was feeling those first couple of weeks wasn't great. And I was reverting back to habits that I had in the past that I didn't like. Not getting up early in the morning, spending the day scrolling social media, eating junk food, binge eating junk food, and pretty much feeling shit about myself. I remember the day, it was the 22nd of June. I decided that I wasn't going to be that person anymore. I didn't like that person. I didn't want to be that person. And I wanted to be a person that I've always believed in my head that I can be, but I've never fully committed to. And on that day, I decided to commit to it. And then I put steps in place to allow myself to get to where I wanted to be. So I think the first step into changing your life is actually deciding that you're going to commit to changing your life. Then the next step is how. How are you going to change your life? What elements of your life are you not happy with? What elements of your life do you want to improve? And where do you want to be? So I went through all my bad habits and I looked at them and I replaced them with good habits. For example, my laziness, not getting up in the mornings. I replaced that with an activity whereby I had to be out of bed by a certain time and outside by a certain time. Now, 6 months on, I don't even need an alarm to wake up. I wake up and I get up and I go outside. That's the first thing I do every day. Wake up, out of bed, outside. Before, it was wake up, pick up the phone, scroll through, an hour later, maybe get out of bed, make a cup of tea, get back into bed with my cup of tea, have some breakfast, in bed, get out of bed, and then potter around for the day or do whatever we had planned for the day. And instantly, when you replace that bad habit with a good habit, like, you've saved yourself so much time, so much, like, it's insane. It's insane. Once you have a look at your bad habits, replace them with good habits, the progress that you can make. So step 1, decide that you want to change your life. Step 2, take a look at what's bad about your life, what bad habits you have, what bad qualities you have, and then look at the person you want to be and what that person would look like and how that person would act. And then start to implement those things in replacing the things that you don't like. So what I didn't do is I didn't go, right, I need to wake up early, I need to eat clean, I need to exercise every single day, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. I didn't bombard myself with every single thing I needed to do. I just started with one habit and one thing. And it's actually quite crazy how changing just one thing can then have a knock-on effect and build momentum in other areas. So for example, I started by getting up early and going outside, which it meant going for a walk. And I would walk for 45 minutes every single morning. Get up at 7, out and go for a walk. And I did this loop walk around a flattish area, and I did that for a few days. And then after a few days I was like, oh, I feel quite good. Let's see if I can go up that hill. Very, very steep hill, probably about a 20-minute walk up the hill. And then that became the next challenge. Right, I'm going to walk up that hill every single day. And every single day it's going to get easier. Because that first time that I did it, I bloody struggled. By the end of the month that I was doing it, I was walking at pace up that hill. So it went from getting up, getting outside, walking around a loop, to getting up, getting outside, walking around a loop, up a hill, to then getting up, walking outside, walking around the loop, up a hill, listening to an audiobook. So that one change led to not just walking outside, me getting fitter, more active, more knowledge. I was listening to audiobooks on self-development, self-improvement, and then that had a knock-on effect. I was like, right, what's next? What's next? I've got this habit now, and that habit now, it feels unnatural not to do that. So it's like, if I wake up in the morning and don't go out for a walk, that doesn't feel right. It's embedded in me now. And that's kind of the mindset that you have to go in. If you're going to change your life, you literally need to change your life. You can't revert back to your old self if you're becoming your new self. So step 1 is the choice. Step 2 is replacing those bad habits with good habits and making it so that it's standard. Those good habits are standard. Without those good habits, you're not you. So, and the next step, step 3, is to actually start to visualize, and you'll find it's easier to do once you've done those first 2 steps, because you're building momentum, you're seeing progress, you're growing, you're developing. And then once you put in place, right, I can do this. This is the vision I want. This is the life I want to live. And this is how I'm going to get there. And then you put a plan and a structure in place of how you're going to get there. So step 3 is really about envisioning the life that you want and putting a plan and a structure in place to go get it. And then you can have this dream life or dream scenario or dream what you want to be, on who you want to be and where you want to go. And then you can reverse engineer from that to where you are now and see the step-by-step actions that you need to take to get there. And step 4 is taking ownership and responsibility for becoming that person. Becoming the person that you know that you can be, the person that you have always dreamed of, but these things have held you back, but that's no longer you, and that is you, and you're going there, and that's the plan that you have in place, and you've now just got to take ownership and responsibility for it. And what I've learned over the last 6 months is that journey, everything is about the journey. Like, getting to that destination isn't necessarily the thing that I want to do. It's the in-between, it's the getting there, it's the growing, it's the developing, it's the progress, it's the learning. It's everything that happens along the journey. And that, I think back to chapter 2 and chapter 1, like I spoke about in the last video. And every single part of those chapters has been a journey. a journey in which I've enjoyed. I enjoy the process. I enjoy the journey. Like, if I don't get to that destination, it's never going to matter. It's literally the journey of that is the important thing. So that is how I changed my life in 6 months. I made the decision. I took action on replacing my bad habits with good habits. I made a structured plan on what it is I want and where I want to be and how I'm going to get there. And then I took ownership of my situation and responsibility to get to where I want to be. And I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but I have a plan. And plans always are like this. Things go right, things go wrong. Things go right, things go wrong. But staying consistent throughout the ups and the downs is the most important thing. And over the last 6 months, that is like seeing the progress over the last 6 months. And I've had it in my life before, and it's kind of like I kind of just washed it away. And now I've refound it, but I've refound it in a different way. And I guess what I'm explaining there is the business I had in the past. I burnt out. I didn't have the balance. And that damaged me to some extent, to where I didn't like structure and I didn't like plans, because it was too much to handle, too much pressure, too much do. And the travel, that was chapter 1, what I spoke about last week. And chapter 2, the travel and the freedom, again, was too much. It's too much of one thing and too much of that. So it's too much structure, too much unstructure. And now it's about finding a balance where both work together. And the last 6 months, I've had amazing adventures, but I've also stuck to my plan, and I've stuck to my good habits, and I've stuck to all of the things that's going to make me that better version of myself. We're 6 months in. This is the journey. This is the journey of me becoming the best version of myself. And this is the important thing to remember. You can change your life, but it's never about the destination. It's always about the journey. So I'm going to go into more detail about the bad habits that are now been replaced with good habits, and I'm going to go into those in more details in the upcoming weeks. I hope you found some value out of this video. See you next week.